Hey everyone, I'm your host Natalie Bode. On the show today is a 6-time MLB All-Star, 2-time World Series champion, and the first player in league history to hit 40 home runs and steal 40 bases in a single season. He launched over 460 home runs during his career and became one of the most electrifying and controversial figures in baseball. Please welcome the one and only Jose Canseco to the show. Your heads-up match with Swade Brooks.
Jesus Christ, yeah.
First, I want to give you a chance. Walk us through the hand where you folded the full house.
Okay, so people that play with me know that I get a lot of bad beats in poker. And the reason why I folded is because she actually, once the full house hit, she actually raised and bet again. And I'm like, oh my God. I couldn't put her on the king, but then when the jack came out and then hit again, I went, oh boy. Is this one of the times where I'm going to get a smaller house? I'm going to lose this tournament for a smaller full house to a bigger full house, knowing with my luck. And if you realize, I only had about 300,000 left in chips. So I had to commit the rest of my tournament there. And I'm thinking, my luck is so bad. Yes, I have a full house. But could she possibly have the jack and my tournament end right here?
Jose, I would have gone broke.
And I thought about it, and I thought about it, and I said, well, I have 300,000 behind me. If I fold, maybe I could rally and come back like I did several times, and maybe etch out a victory here. And on that, I folded. Because now, if I would have had triple those chips, of course I would have called her, because that didn't put my tournament life at stake. So I think she took advantage of that. Let me tell you, I give her a lot of credit. I did look at the tournament, the heads up, online afterwards, and I did analyze each and every one of her hands.
Really?
And it was ironic because 90% of the time, her whole cards were better than mine. 90% of the times, the flop, she was better than I was. Not even that. When I didn't hit the flop, or she didn't hit the flop, she was first to act aggressive right away betting. And most of the hands, I had no combination of even a gutter, maybe an open-ender, a flush draw. So I think for her, she played the timing perfectly. I did see that a couple times. I think I gave her advice. If you flop a flush, check it. A couple of that times, I think she made a mistake flopping flushes and betting right away instead of letting me kind of bet into it. But I think her aggression and her timing was perfect, and she killed me.
You guys were battling, though. That was a long heads-up match.
It was a struggle.
At one point, you got to 50% in chips, so you had gotten back to where you guys were even with each other, but then the battle just continued.
And if you look at when I got back to even, or
somewhere around there,
it was basically I was forced to push in with poor cards, and I got lucky. So, I mean, overall, the chip, I think we started where I was 1.5 million. She was $500,000. But from the very beginning, I think she got some very good advice. Someone probably told her, you know what? Don't linger around. Don't try to play him. Aggression, and it worked out. I think her timing was excellent.
Well, it was a great run that you had. We're excited for you to play again this Saturday. I want to take you back on your journey. And I read that you grew up in Miami and Cuba when you were young.
I was born in Cuba, and I came to the United States. I think I was probably 9 months old or a year old.
Okay.
So extremely young. Yeah.
What was life like growing up in Miami?
Imagine.
It's changed a lot, huh?
I haven't been back to Miami in a very long time. I've been living in Vegas for the last 17 years, and prior to that, LA. Because my daughter was there. Miami, I guess everyone from Cuba comes to Miami because they have family there. So we had a little bit of family on my father's side over there. So growing up, I know we had a regular childhood. My father in Cuba, people don't know, it's my father's blonde hair, blue eyes. So I'll tell you a really strange background. Do you know where the name Canseco comes from?
I do not.
It's one of the rarest names in the world.
Really?
Can you figure out why?
I probably couldn't put my finger on it quickly, no.
Okay. So my father's blonde hair, blue eyes, 6 feet tall, 235 pounds. Very broad individual, right? My mom was half Philippine, half Cuban, about 5'2". So we got my mother's looks with my father's size. On his family, they're giants. So the name Canseco is maybe 3 generations old because it originates from Germany. Our last name used to be Seiko, Seiko. When a lot of Germans fled Germany back then, when the Hitler uprising and stuff like that, they fled to all parts of the country, Latin America. Mm-hmm. Our name was modified from Seiko to Canseco, Canseco.
Wow.
That's why the name is so rare. So that's why my daughter also looks very German. On my father's side, they're giants. Even the women are 6'4", 6'5". My father had a brother who was 6'4". So my twin brother and I got the German wide shoulders and big bone structure, but with my mother's looks.
See, but the name Canseco, that's a big league name. Like that's a great last name.
Because it's rare, it's so different. Mm-hmm. You would think the average Latin name would be like a Rodriguez, Gonzalez, Hernandez.
Yeah.
But where does Canseco come from? So our family's very small. I think maybe there's 10 of us left. And some of them are in Spain.
Wow.
So a lot of Germans migrated to Spain, Cuba, and so forth. And of course, the last name was converted because of persecution reasons.
Was your dad the one who introduced you to baseball when you were young?
My dad was not an athlete.
Really?
My dad was actually an English professor in Cuba.
Wow.
So my father spoke perfect English and perfect Spanish. So also worked for Esso Oil, which here in the States is Amoco Oil. No, my father was not a There's many stories that my father was like a baseball player and stuff like that. I have no idea where my brother and I get our athletic ability. I have no idea.
When did you discover you guys had it?
You never really discover that you have it. You just get into it and have fun and move up levels. And
but for someone with your skill, though, there was never a point where you felt like naturally I have an innate ability that is higher than others.
Not really.
Really?
Because I struggled in the minor leagues. I think the turning point for me, which is in my book, it's going to be in the movie now that we're producing, is the time when my mom passed away and she was in her deathbed. She was past brain dead, and I promised her to be the best player in the world at that point. Mm-hmm. And, of course, people know this. That's when I started using PED steroids and became a juggernaut in baseball. And I changed my mental outlook towards baseball and definitely my physicality, both at the same time.
So I know you have been very outspoken, obviously, but I'm sure there was a time period when you might have been a little bit hesitant to talk about people using steroids. You knew what the backlash could be. Did you ever think, maybe let me not go public with this, or did you just know you should?
Well, in the very beginning, in the 80s, there were no regulations in Major League Baseball, even regulations in our social structure that PEDs were illegal in any way, shape, or form. I don't think people knew too much about PEDs. I was kind of self-educated in that area too, kind of trial and error, using different workouts, different diets, and using different PEDs or chemicals to become bigger, faster, stronger. So eventually I learned through usage, through books at that time, because social media wasn't really there, on what sprinters use, what power builders use, what PEDs were used for, quick muscle twitch development and so forth. So it became a trial and error type basis for me for a very long time.
So obviously it's in the name, performance enhancing drug. What does it exactly feel like? What's the difference in feeling when you're using steroids?
I think people have to understand that I remember the first time my friend injected me, I thought that I was going to, a million thoughts went through my head, like, oh my God, am I going to feel something crazy? Am I going to get aggressive? Am I going to grow a horn? Am I going to neigh like a horse or something? Mm-hmm. These crazy, wild things go through your head, but PEDs are not like your regular drugs, like cocaine's, your ecstasies, your marijuana, your liquor, that they act instantly. That's not the way it works. First of all, PEDs, testosterone in general, men produce testosterone naturally. Mm-hmm. So you enhance that testosterone and other testosterones with it, or other chemicals with it. You only get as much out of using PEDs as hard as you work. Your workouts, your diet, your dedication. So you just don't inject yourself and say, okay, I'm going to be a Major League Baseball player or superstar. That's not the way it works. I think people have a very, uneducated misconception about PEDs.
What's your thoughts on the conversation around steroid use in the Hall of Fame?
Wow. Well, I've said this so many times. I know, and I'm going to say it if that's the camera right there. I know who you are, and you know I know who you are because I've dealt with you. There are about 5 players right now in the Hall of Fame that tested positive for PEDs, and Major League Baseball allowed them to be in the Hall of Fame. I have a problem with that because simply, either Major League Baseball should let all the players who qualify by numbers and stats, all of them into the Hall of Fame if they qualify, or none. Again, I prove my point all the time. Major League Baseball is the most hypocritical sport in the world. And I've proven that day in, day out with all my books, my experience, allowing these certain athletes who tested positive PEDs in the Hall of Fame and not having, the Clemens, the Bonds, Alex Rodriguez's, the Rafael Palmeiros, who have way better stats than these individuals. Why aren't they relying on all of them? Doesn't make sense to me.
And that was going to be my question. Why do you think it is that some players that have been alleged to have used or have used are in the Hall of Fame, but like a Barry Bonds is not and won't be?
Hypocrisy, control. That's our system today. Sending a message. Maybe a lot of these players weren't liked at a certain time in social media. There's really no apparent reason. Maybe they liked these individuals. They're more likable players that they allowed in the Hall of Fame.
Like from a marketing standpoint, perhaps?
Yeah, exactly. So it's just everyone knows this fact. And again, Major League Baseball is just, it's kind of laughable because they have, I think, 352 players in the Hall of Fame as today. If you let a computer, if you put information, mathematical information in a computer and let the computer pick out the athletes that deserve to be in the Hall of Fame, the Hall of Fame structure would change completely. Basically, yes, some of these players belong in the Hall of Fame, but there were a lot of greater players that are not in the Hall of Fame compared to the ones that are in the Hall of Fame. Even the ones that use PEDs that are in the Hall of Fame, there are 10 players today that so-called use PEDs that their stats are way better than these other individuals. It's just selective hypocrisy.
What do you think about the Pete Rose situation, who recently passed RIP? Do you think he should be in the Hall of Fame?
Pete was a friend of mine, and it's sad that Major League Baseball used him as an example, as a scapegoat to control everyone else. In every major corporation, any major institution, this has happened several times over and over again, where it doesn't have to be baseball. It could be football. It could be golf. It could be an industry where they will use an example to control a business, a situation, and they will use certain individuals. And that's the way it is today. It's sad, but, imagine this. Pete Rose been trying to get into the Hall of Fame forever. Passed away. Now they're thinking about putting him into the Hall of Fame. That, to me, is disgusting. It's the biggest slap I've ever seen to give to Pete Rose, and God bless his soul, and his family. If you think about what that means, it's pretty low of an institution, a company, a corporation, like Major League Baseball to let to anybody. But they're run by some tyrants. And to me, any major corporation, institution, you're always going to get that. You're going to get the narcissistic tyrants who are upper echelon. And that's the way it is.
So in the same way that you see Major League Baseball having made an example out of Pete Rose, do you feel like Major League Baseball made an example out of you in the same way for exposing what you deem the truth?
I think we leave that up to when my movie comes out.
When is it coming out, by the way? The people need to know.
I just signed a deal.
Okay, cool.
You're looking at a year.
All right, let us know and we can promo it for you as well.
So to understand my situation, there is a big build-up story behind it. So we'll just leave it at that. We'll wait till it comes out. But I think once the movie comes out, everything will be explained in detail, in steps, and then people can make a judgment from complete information.
Do you ever feel like you had any sort of timidness or maybe even fear about potential repercussions that could come out going against a major corporation speaking out?
I guess I'm very different than most people because I'm happy with just telling the truth, and I don't care what happens after that. The rest of me is irrelevant. It doesn't matter. As long as I tell the truth, for me, my persona, my character, my well-being, I don't care about the rest. It's irrelevant to me.
What do you think is the biggest truth that you've exposed that the world really still hasn't acknowledged?
Oh, gosh. I mean, I get into politics and our present situation and what's going on, the way our government has been, wow, extorting money from us. And, it's crazy. But it's being proven on a daily basis what's going on right now. But we just need to wake up. We are asleep. We are slaves. We are not. There's so many things going on that's beyond most people. It's crazy.
Did anybody ever thank you privately for exposing the truth, even if
Yes.
they didn't want to come out publicly?
Yes.
Did you get that a lot?
Yes.
I know you probably
eventually, I mean, I went through hell. I spent time in jail, five months in jail, just by telling the truth. I was ostracized. Nobody would hire me. I went through a point in time where I lived in a garage.
Wow.
I mean, I went through a period where, if you can understand this, at one point in time, I'm the best player in the world with the highest salary in the world. And then shortly after, I'm living in a garage. I've been through so many things. People say, Jose, why don't you write a book about that? I said, well, I'm not going to write a book about what to do right, but I can write a book and show you where the landmines are. I stepped on every single landmine, and I'm still in one piece. I can tell you, there's a landmine, be careful. 'Cause I can tell you that more than I can tell you do the right thing, because I survived it and I stepped on every landmine possible.
So when Palmeiro ended up testifying under oath and then testing positive, what was your reaction to that? Did you feel vindicated when some players, the truth came out?
Well, let me tell you. So I'm sitting there with my attorney. Before we come out to face the congressional members, we're isolated in one room, just him and I. In another room, it's Major League Baseball, the Player Association, and all the players and all their attorneys in one room together. What does that tell you? Simple collusion, right? You start using common sense here, right? Simple collusion. So we get there and I sit down and they have me apart and the other group is on this side. And it was so funny because I respect our congressional members, the hearing completely. I was probably the only one there that didn't perjure himself. And once Palmeiro, who I injected personally, says, I don't know how to tell you, but I've never used steroids. I looked over, and the first thing that went through my mind, oh my gosh, these people have no respect for the congressional members of the hearings. They're perjuring themselves. I can't believe, I felt like I was in the Twilight Zone. I felt like, wow. All sense of respect, all sense of honor, all sense of decency, all sense of truthfulness has gone out the door. It's just completely flew out the door. And I looked at my attorney and I went, we are in for a long haul. Now, obviously, I think Palmeiro was the perfect individual to testify against me. And I say this many a time. Latin player, born in Cuba. I grew up with him. I knew him. I played against him. One of the most respected players in the game. He was one of the only players that either did or was approaching 500 home runs and 3,000 hits, which only a handful of players have done that. Now, Palmeiro, what happened with him is that he already tested positive for the use of steroids. I believe Major League Baseball approached him and said, listen, Rafi, you tested positive already. We're going to let you continue playing. We're going to allow you to do the 3,000 base hits and the 500 home runs if you testify against Jose Canseco. If you say this never happened, you never used PDs, we're going to allow you in the game. Hence it happened. Right there I knew something was going on. Hence it happened. I went, uh-oh. This is an army against just us two. And I think the congressional members got smart. They said, wait a minute. Jose Canseco can't be the only one that used PDs. He can't be lying about all this. There's no way. He answered all our questions. So Major League Baseball, the Player Association, Major League Baseball, and then Congress subpoenaed Rafael Palmeiro's test results. Once a player takes a steroid test, they have their name attached to a number. That number goes into testing. And right away, the testing facility doesn't know who the player is. Either test negative or positive. He tested positive for steroids. They sent it back attached to his name. So Congress subpoenaed those results and found out that Palmeiro tested positive. So now what does Major League Baseball do in the Player Association? Oh, yeah, he did test positive. That's right. But after the congressional hearings. Think about what I just said. They covered up for him, said he tested positive after the congressional hearings, not before. Yes, he tested positive, but they changed the timeline. That's what I was dealing with.
Did he change his response or his tone towards you after that?
No.
No?
No, none of them will speak with me, deal with me whatsoever, no.
Is that the same case with Mark McGwire? Because you guys were one of the most iconic duos in baseball.
Identical with Mark.
You think he regrets how he handled any of that?
I felt really bad for him because I think he got really bad advice from his attorneys. And let me tell you, I've dealt with attorneys for 40 years. I know how attorneys work. I think he got very bad advice from his attorneys, Major League Baseball, and the Player Association combined. For him to sit there and say, I don't want to talk about the past, I want to talk about the future, obviously you're guilty, right? Instead of just saying, yeah, I used them, everybody used them. Back then they were not illegal. Major League Baseball didn't care. They never told us don't use them. There was no laws against them internally or externally. But I think he got caught up with bad advice. And that kind of hurt him. At that point in time, I guess people said, now, Jose, you went in as the villain, but you came out looking like the only person that was telling the truth. And I said, yes. What else would I say but the truth? But that was a very long time ago. Major League Baseball and the game has changed. The structure of the game has changed drastically. And people have to understand this, that Major League Baseball survived so many ups and downs. Mm-hmm. And not only survived, it's thrived. It's gotten bigger, faster, stronger, more money, more social media. The contracts are out of control. So Major League Baseball is the most sport in the world.
I want to talk now about your career because it was an incredible one. We're going to start with a blooper, though. And I think probably the most iconic, you probably already know what I'm going to say, that Carlos Martinez hit that perfectly bounces off the top of your head and out of the park. Is that the weirdest play you've ever been involved in?
Well, you don't know the story behind that. There's an incredible story. That's how I met Josie's mother.
Really?
So I'll tell you the story. The night before that incident, Ralph Palmer, myself, and Julio Franco, after the game, we go out to get something to eat. We go to restaurants that are closed. We go to Hooters. Hooters is open. We walk in, and I see the most beautiful girl. I think it was Jessica's first day working there, second day. I see the most beautiful girl working there. I'm like, oh my gosh, she's gorgeous. So I invite her. We sit down. I say hi. We exchange numbers. I invite her to the game, and she comes the next day. So now she's in the stands watching the game. The ball hits off my head.
That's that game? Oh,
yes.
My gosh.
So this is incredible. So I go back. And, you always tell your kids, never take your eyes off the ball. I made the biggest mistake because the Cleveland wall is pretty hard. Mm-hmm. I'm 6'4", running full blast, 240 pounds. And at the last moment, I literally pull away from the ball didn't want to slam into the wall and break my shoulder, basically. And as I come back, the ball, I missed just the ball. Literally, it was already on top of me. Hits me on the head. As I slam the wall, it goes over the fence. The fence is like 10 feet tall, but I'm 6'4". So it bounced pretty high off my head. So now I slam into the wall. I look for the ball on the ground, and I look at my right fielder, and he's on one knee laughing. David Holtz, one of the funniest guys you ever meet. He's on one knee laughing. I'm thinking, oh, no. Did I just hit that ball over the fence with my head? So he comes to me. He's just laughing, and we're just laughing. And the first thing that went through my mind, I kid you not, is, oh, my God, Jessica's going to think I'm an idiot. I didn't care about the play. I thought, oh, my God, the girl I brought to the game is going to think I'm an idiot. So now, obviously, the game ends. I got to deal with the media. So after the game, I see Jessica. And then she didn't really know a lot about baseball. So I said, so she goes, so what happened with that ball hitting off? I said, yeah, usually when that happens, I get the assist and I get the home run put on my record. And she believed that? She believed that. So I'm marrying you. So we started off a relationship, got married and had Josie. But, I've had to relive that for 25, 30 years now. But we went from Cleveland on that road trip. We ended up in New York. Can you imagine? I'm playing right field, New York Stadium, with those Yankee fans. Everybody brought hats or helmets with a baseball stuck to it.
Oh, no.
And we're throwing stuff at me. We had to stop the game. It was, no.
It's funny now, though. When you look back on it, it's kind of funny,
I think it's hilarious.
Yeah.
It's the number one blooper in the world.
Oh, yeah. I would agree.
I think it's hilarious, but let me tell you, every baseball stadium I went to for the end of my career, people are still bringing it up. It's funny. Just got to own it.
I mean, yeah, at this point, but
just gotta own it.
You had so much success though that it can get lost in the ether a little bit. They look up your name, they'll see other things.
I don't know about that. That's never going to get lost.
That one probably will live on. It's pretty good.
That will live on.
But of the clubhouses you were a part of, which was your favorite? I'm sure you got a lot of memories to pull from.
For what reason? For what?
Overall, camaraderie, enjoyment, maybe fun, whatever you want it to be.
I would think probably the Boston Red Sox. I love Boston. Roger was with Roger Clemens, Wakefield, Hasselman. We used to go play golf all the time. So I'll tell you a funny story. When Kevin Kennedy was the manager, I mean, we had some very fun times. So Kevin Kennedy was the manager of the Boston Red Sox back then. And usually Roger, myself, Tim Wakefield, and then Mike Hasselman, we go play golf during the day. As long as Roger wasn't pitching that day, we play golf. So then we got stuck in traffic on the way back. And Kevin Kennedy's a player's manager. So we're coming back, and we're late for batting practice. And his office has got a huge window where you walk in, so you can't get to the clubhouse without going by his office. Mm-hmm. So we walk by, trying to skid by quick, and he catches me and Roger. He goes, "Hey, you guys, come here. You guys are late." He goes, "Where have you guys been? You guys haven't been playing golf, have you?" And me and Roger look at each other. We go, "No, we haven't been playing golf." "Oh, really? So what's that T doing right behind your ear?"
Oh, no. I
stuck one of the T's right here, like, hey, but Kevin Kennedy, we just laughed it off. One of the nicest guys ever. I mean, there's multiple stories. I mean, being late to the ballpark. One time I was with Madonna, meeting her, late to the ballpark. They were going to bench me. Tony says, "Okay, you better give me a really good excuse why you're late because I'm benching you this game." He goes, "Well, I was at Madonna's house meeting her." "Okay, that's a pretty good excuse. Get in the lineup." And I won that game with a home run in Anaheim. I mean, there's just a million baseball stories. Baseball's filled with a million stories.
So you brought up Madonna. Now I have to ask about it. Can you take us through that fling? I mean, she was probably at that point, was she the most famous person to exist?
I was a big fan of Madonna's. It was funny because of spring training, I forgot what year that was, 90 or 91. Her half-sister saw me. Now, Madonna was obsessed. At one point in time, she wanted to marry a Cuban-born man. I was born in Cuba, and wanted to have a child with him. So it was like selective breeding type deal.
Interesting.
So, yeah. So her agency, her half-sister saw me in a game, said, you got to meet Jose Canseco. Her agency contacted my agency, said Madonna would like to meet Jose. And I couldn't figure out at the time why. I said, yeah, I'm a big fan of hers, whatever. So we scheduled to meet her in her house in Hollywood when Oakland was playing against the Angels, Anaheim Angels. We went up to her house, my agent and myself. And I'll be honest with you, I never found her attractive.
Really?
I was extremely picky, and I was very shy, and I never found her attractive. I remember, and my agent at the time can verify this, Jeff Boris, she kind of leaned out of her door and stuck her foot out. And I go, Jeff, she's got cankles.
Oh, my God.
Big, thick ankles, I call them. Cankles. I go, and then she had her hair black, parted right down the middle. Like, remember Alfalfa from our gang? Mm-hmm. You're too young. Just like that.
I know the name, though.
And I'm
Alfalfa.
like, what the hell? Is that Madonna? Who was that? So finally we come in, it's Madonna. We're sitting down. She starts interrogating me. Like if I was, I don't know. It was the weirdest thing. What's your favorite color? What do you like to do? This, like direct question, interrogating. I'm like, okay, what's going on here? Uh-huh. So it's almost like she was selecting me for something.
Interesting.
It was extremely weird. Then my agent's sitting here, kind of couch like this. I'm sitting here. She goes, Jose, do you go everywhere with your agent? I go, no, not with it. She goes, come here. I went into her bedroom. So I'm sitting in her bed, and she has remote control blinds. She shuts the blinds down. Mm-hmm. She turns on the TV first, shuts all the blinds down. Do you guys remember that scene from that movie Truth or Dare, where she's kind of like fake masturbating on a huge heart-sized bed? You guys remember that scene? She plays that scene for me. She plays that scene for me, and I'm like this. She's sitting to my left now, and I'm like this.
So you're just uncomfortable?
I'm very uncomfortable. I'm thinking, why am I here? Why is she showing me this scene? What is going on? She's sitting to my left and staring at me. And I'm like this, uh-oh. I'm a kid. I'm a 20, at the time, 91, what was I, 29 or, I'm like 28 years old. I'm like this, okay, what's going on here? And then she lies to me about her age. On top of that, she was much older than what she told me. So I'm sitting there going, so she turns off TV, opens up the drapes, and she goes, so what do you think? And I'm like, what do you mean, what do I think? What am I supposed to say to this? What's going on here? So yeah, it looks nice, whatever, okay. So we walk out. We spend another 15, 20 minutes there. And all of a sudden, my agent goes, Jose, we have to leave. So we left and got caught in traffic. That's when we made it late to the ballpark, the Tony La Russa thing. Now, we played the game. My agency gets a phone call from her agency that Madonna wants to see Jose again. And I'm like, okay, why? So then we arranged, now she's calling me in the clubhouse every day. Her code name is Melissa, because back then there were no cell phones.
Right.
So she's calling me every day in the clubhouse. Everybody, Melissa's on the phone. Oh, you mean Madonna? No, it's her.
Right.
And I'm talking to her. Okay, I gotta go. Then we arranged a time for us to meet in New York. She has an apartment in New York at Skyrise. And this is the funny part. So we have a day off. I get there, and right off the bat, the phone call. Okay, she wants to meet you. Come to her apartment tonight. I said, okay, I'll meet her. I get a cab, have an address. I go to this location. This is huge, whatever, penthouse. And then out front, there's this guy who's like 7 feet tall, her bodyguard. And all the media's there clicking and clicking. And I walk in, I go, I'm Madonna's guest, okay? And the media, you hear the media goes, in the background, was that Jose Canseco just walked up there? What is going on? The media's going crazy. I come up, we talk. We have lunch, whatever. And then we just, nothing, talk. I go, listen, I have to go. So as I'm walking out, she sits me on an actual couch. And she's sitting right in front of me like this. Mm-hmm. But says to me, you want to kiss me, don't you? I said, no.
You said no? I said, Jose.
But think about it.
It's Madonna.
But how awkward. I'm like, am I not supposed to be the aggressor? She was the aggressor. Mm-hmm. I'm like, remember, I'm 28 years old. I'm a baby. And I'm like, no. She literally jumps off the chair, jumps on my lap, and sticks her tongue down my throat. And I'm like, okay. Okay, so I leave. Now, when I go downstairs, obviously, when I get out of her apartment, stand next to her bodyguard, all the paparazzi's there, clicking, everybody.
Were they already there, or were they called? you think?
They were already there.
Okay.
Because constantly trying to get pictures from her.
Right.
But then when they waited for me to leave, and so now it's all over New York. Jose Canseco, Madonna's Bat Boy, this and that. Next day we have a game. It's actually on TV. You can see on YouTube. Next day we have a game. 50,000 fans are chanting, Jose, Madonna, just chanting it back and forth. And I'm playing right field. I'm going, oh no. Now they're throwing Madonna blow-up dolls out there.
Oh, gosh.
No, it's on YouTube. You can see it. Everybody's laughing their ass off. They had to stop the game, pull me off the field. They started throwing stuff at me out there. So, just stuff like that. The usual.
When's the last time you talked to her? You ever talked to her again?
So I'll tell you how our thing ended.
Wait, can you put me in a place and time? Is this pre or post Rodman?
Pre-Rodman.
Okay.
Yeah, pre-Rodman. Pre-Rodman, pre-Alex Rodriguez.
Gotcha.
So then during the offseason, I think it was 91, 90, I don't really want to talk to her, but she's constantly calling me in the clubhouse. Constantly. Okay, I said, okay. Now, it's the offseason. I live in Coco Plum Island. I have a house. She lives on Star Island, Miami. Coco Plum Island is here. Go through the bay, my channel, bay, Star Island. Literally takes me in my boat. I had two boats. I had a 52 fishing Hatteras and a 50-foot racing boat, about 127 miles an hour in my dock. So I get in my boat. She says, okay, come see me. Come to my house. I said, fine. I get in my boat. Now, remember, this boat does 127 miles per hour. It's a race boat. I used to race it against Don Johnson and Hooters boats and stuff like that. I take it out as a helicopter following me. It's the news. Helicopter to see when I was going to see Madonna. I'm in my boat and I try to outrace this cop. I couldn't. I said, listen, in my mind, I'm done. I turned around, docked my boat, still told her, I'm done with this. I can't continue with even talking to you. It ended right there.
You never talked to her again?
Never talked to her again.
Wow. Was that the coolest thing that happened to you in the peak of your stardom, or was it something different?
Yeah, not even close.
That wasn't even in like the top 5?
No.
Are you serious? It's Madonna. I guess maybe she's an icon.
A lot of others.
Okay. Well, I believe you.
Remember, this was 30 some odd years ago.
But that's the
guys
peak,
weren't even
though.
born then.
But I know the lore of Madonna. She's an icon, even to this day.
Yeah.
But to you, that was just another day in the life. I get it. Trying to outrace a helicopter, paparazzi.
Okay. So in 88, when I was rated the best player in the world, my agency got requests to meet me. Mm-hmm. The Shakiras, the Shania Twain, all of them. Jennifer Lopez wanted to meet me. But I was just a kid. I didn't even understand that. I went from super nerd to super athlete overnight almost. So I was a nerd in school. Nobody wanted to I mean, in high school I was 5'11", 150 pounds.
Wow.
And finally peaked out at 6'4.5", 250. So even people didn't recognize me, how I physically metamorphosized. Yeah.
What do you think something that people don't understand about being in your prime and having that much stardom and dealing with it?
Understand.
Because that's got to be difficult. I mean, the balance of that, even some of the paparazzi.
If you're not grounded, every door is open to you. I used to have my own private parking spot at the Playboy Mansion, which nobody had. It's weird because every door was open to me. Every red carpet was open to me. Every party, even the P. Diddy parties, all of them. Believe me, it was ridiculous. I got lucky because I was always, besides steroids, always anti-drugs. Mm-hmm. Always no liquor, nothing. I couldn't stand that kind of stuff. And because I had put so much work into my physique, my physicality, becoming the best player in the world, I didn't want to hurt that in any way, shape, or form. Mm-hmm. Because obviously baseball, hand-eye coordination, depth perception, reaction time is key. And any type of kind of those party drugs can really hurt that or delay it or hamper it. So I was very into that. I don't know. I went from obscurity, no one knowing who I was, to everyone knowing who I was in 3 years, 4 years. So, and I was very young. I was 23, 24 years old.
You were invited to everything then. Did you say you were even invited to the Diddy parties? Did you ever attend one?
No. I knew what was going on.
You heard the stories? Even before? That's why you...
I was privy to all that.
So when all that came out...
It's pretty accurate what's going on. Really? Yeah, I remember, and I also lived in L.A.
Right.
A lot of the producers, after parties and stuff like that. L.A., it may be more conservative now because of the people that have been caught, and now but in the past, talk about Sodom and Gomorrah. Sodom and Gomorrah has nothing on L.A.
Oh, wow.
It was, yeah. Oh, no, it was everywhere you go back then. There was a mountain of cocaine, especially in Miami. It's crazy.
Wow.
No, it's before your time, though.
Oh, yeah. But all that's coming out now, so...
Well, eventually, I think eventually everything comes out. I think eventually the truth comes out.
Yeah.
Especially when, people take advantage. They get caught. They do things that are illegal. People get hurt. Yeah, it comes out. Mm-hmm.
So when we were talking about the different clubhouses that you were a part of, I was kind of surprised you didn't mention that Oakland A's clubhouse, because I feel like that one is a little infamous.
We were boring.
You really?
Yes, we were kind of, we were pretty, in the sense of, we were, let me see if I'll put this the right way. In the clubhouse, no. In the clubhouse, we respect the clubhouse. That's our workspace or workplace. It's 100% baseball business. Now, outside the clubhouse, on the road, now that's a whole different world. You didn't mention that. No, that's a whole different world. But I think as athletes, even if you don't want to, everything's kind of put in your face. Everything is accessible. For myself personally, I was very shy and very quiet, but everything was thrusted upon you. And when I mean everything. To the point to where you just pick and choose. And luckily for myself, which I saw a lot of players do a lot of crazy stuff, I was what you call a conservative crazy. If there's any such terminology, I was conservative crazy. Yeah.
So those World Series championship teams you were part of, during those seasons, did you know, like, this is a team that can win a world championship?
Oh, the Oakland A's, absolutely. Especially when we acquired Ricky, obviously accuracy. We just needed a few pieces to dominate. But even though, I always say this because, for example, the Dodgers in '88, we obviously had the best team. But the problem is, in a short series of 7 games, it's not the best team that wins. It's the team that plays the best for that short period will win. We could have played a series of 50 games. We would have won 40 of them. But at that point in time, Hershiser being extremely hot, everything went right for them. If you really look at what happened, even in our playoffs, I would hit a home run, tie the game, put us up by 1 or 2. Boom. Almost every game. Accuracy would come in, shut them down. First game of the '88 World Series, what happens? They jump ahead, hit the grand slam like usual, put us ahead. Accuracy shooters would come in, shut them down. Didn't work out that way. They did everything possibly that they could perfect, and we didn't execute. Not only that, we took it for granted that we were going to go in there and beat the Dodgers because we had the superior team. So we really didn't practice the way we should have. We really didn't take it as serious as we should have taken it. Hence, the year after that, when we played the Giants, we had that earthquake, 9 days off. What did we do in those 9 days? We went to Arizona. We practiced every day. We hit off our own pitching staff, the best pitching staff in the world. Hence what happened. Now we play the Giants. We slaughter them. We set a Major League record with 7 home runs in a game, because we didn't take that for granted. We learned from the year before that in a short span, 7 games, not the best team that's going to win. It's the team that plays the best in that 7-game span that's going to win. We didn't take it for granted.
What's the party like after you win a World Series?
Well, the Earthquake Series, there really wasn't a party because what had happened there. But, it's like I said, Major League Baseball, depending on who you are in the game, what you do, the way you look, the way you present yourself, the way you speak, you can, if you let yourself go, it could be a crazy lifestyle.
Is that kind of what you alluded to about life on the road earlier?
That's part of it. Yeah.
You don't keep it in check. It's a long season.
Just like any superstar in their respective genre of sports, you always get everything kind of handed to you, everything given to you. There's always the people who chase those super athletes around who are willing to. So, yeah, it's pretty. I had my fun. It was fun.
I want to end with this. You've had some crazy tweets, time travel, aliens. Are you trolling or you really believe those? It's
amazing that people take everything I say serious.
Yeah.
I can say literally, I met an alien yesterday. We went to dinner. He gave me the lottery. I mean, they're funny. They're jokes. I think people get too caught up in just having fun and just saying crazy things. And I do notice that some of the things I say do go viral. And I'm kind of home just laughing and giggling about it. With people like, oh, my God, Jose is trolling the internet. He's saying these crazy things. There he goes. He's at it again. Meanwhile, I'm laughing between myself. Like, oh, my God, people are taking this shit serious. It's just fun. It's just kind of laughable. People that know me know that I have very funny character. And I'm very honest. And that's just me.
How do you want to be remembered?
I don't. Why would I want to be remembered? Why? That's
legacy doesn't matter for you?
To me, that's ego. That's narcissism. That's why. We have our time on this planet. Do the best you can. Be honest. Try to help people out. Why do you want to be remembered? What do you benefit by being remembered? You're not going to know if you're remembered or not. Who cares?
So for your movie that's coming out, where can people find it? Where can they follow along? Where will announcements be?
In a couple more months.
Okay.
We are actually developing the script now.
Nice.
But it's going to be very interesting. It's not about steroids. It's about making a promise to my mother.
Oh, wow.
That's
very
what it's
cool.
really about, which steroids will be the background. It's the vehicle I used or what I had to do to get to where I wanted to go.
Jose Canseco, thanks so much for coming on.
Thank you. Now I can breathe.